and he's going to house it.
It's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another Angle of Pursuit podcast, your fantasy football, sports betting, and NASCAR home. I am your host, Kyle Robert. You follow me on Twitter at NotoriousKRO. With me to break down the Geico 500, both on DraftKings and at the betting window, it's Brian Twining. What's up, Brian?
What's up, Kyle? Man, I am so effing excited for this race, although I will have to record it because, as we talked about in our previous show, I will be on the links tomorrow during the race, so I will be turning my phone off. But I am beyond excited to see this race, especially after watching Christopher Bell qualify on pole. I know that means absolutely jack shit heading into a super speedway, but
Yeah,
like it's exciting to see him have the pace at least for a track, knowing he entered coming in like 28-1 on an outright.
yeah, and he's looked good in qualifying, and then when it comes to race day, he's not been there. Something has gone wrong.
I mean, 3 of his last 4 races, he's finished inside the top 10, and he's qualified inside the top 10. I think now 7 of the last 8 races. So he obviously has the pace.
Yep.
It's just avoiding the problems during the race.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to send you like 3 to 4 texts, one of which will be real. The rest will be all made up stuff. And then I'll let you sort out what the real one is.
Yeah.
So as I mentioned, we're going to jump in, talk DraftKings. Now the qualifying is in the books. We'll look at the updating odds board, see what odds we want to add to our already rolling betting ticket for the week, see how our outrights are looking, how some of the other numbers have moved. But let's jump into it. Let's talk some DraftKings, and let's look at that price. Ryan Blaney is the most expensive driver on the slate, 10.5. Starting 22nd, feels like he's going to be pretty popular. A driver that does pretty well at Talladega. I don't know. Must have been reading some Jeff Darlington tweets or something. Joey Logano, starting 13th. Kyle Larson, starting 5th at 10.1. Are you touching any of the guys inside 10K or above 10K?
I mean, like you said, Blaney is going to be on almost every single person's roster. And he runs really well at these kinds of tracks. I mean, he entered as the favorite. He's still the betting favorite right now, tied with a few people. So, I mean, it could be a situation where if you don't have him and he winds up winning the race, which he has a very good chance of doing, you're going to be screwed. So I think, honestly, for me, he's the only one of those guys above 10K that I'm willing to get to, especially knowing Larson's history at super speedways has not been great. Starting 5th is kind of...
Yeah, Larson's going to be somebody that's hard to get to, and we are talking super speedways, so this is where you want to hammer the back half of the driver's grid and hope you get the right guys. I could see Blaney being popular, but I also could see a world where it's really easy to talk yourself into Chase Elliott starting 28th, Alex Bowman starting 27th, and they're both at a sizable discount where you could start your team that way. And feel really comfortable, obviously, with 2 really elite drivers starting way at the back. Sandwiched in between those guys, William Byron starting 8th, Tyler Reddick starting 10th, Kyle Busch starting 12th. Are we just going to punt on that whole section, or do you want to put any of these guys in some of your lineups?
Well, I mean, like you said, Elliott and Bowman are very intriguing, especially knowing that qualifying numbers at Talladega especially are pretty deceiving, considering all of these guys are separated by hundreds or thousands of seconds in terms of qualifying position. So even Elliott at the 28th position, he's only a few hundredths off of the pole sitter. So it's not like he's running that much slower. And come race day, working into the field with the draft and knowing that Hendrick is going to adjust their vehicles, and they always show up at these tracks. It might be a good play to just go with Elliott and Bowman and skip those 10 guys, knowing that they're probably moving up.
Yeah, Elliott's going to be a really compelling option. Obviously, over the last 6, a win, 2 top 5s, 3 top 10s. A really the 5th or 6th highest driver rating. He's been really impressive at these tracks, and makes a lot of sense as we kind of dip down and enter the 8K range. Danny Hamlin starting 7th. Brad Keselowski, the more the week has gone on, Brian, you're going to plug your ears if you need to, but he's becoming more compelling. I think there's a chance that he finishes really well here. Maybe not on the outright, but maybe a top 3, top 5 kind of range. I'm considering.
He's gonna wreck. I'm calling it right now.
He may wreck, but it's somebody else is going into the wall while he drives past them. But starting 15th at 8,900 for a guy that I think can win this race, I think could be a compelling spot to jump on.
He's also the active leader in wins at Talladega with 6, so he's very familiar. He loves this track. He looked decent. He actually even said, I was watching qualifying today, that they have him on record saying that he didn't think he was going to have the pace during qualifying, but he had a feeling his car was going to be great during the race. And knowing that he kind of qualified better than what he thought, maybe you're right. He's going to have a really good car come tomorrow.
Yep. And his 3rd best average rating over the last 6 races, only behind Logano and Ryan Blaney. So there's definitely something to it. As you mentioned, as we kind of run through the rest of the names, obviously we've got a Kevin Harvick starting 24th, 8,600 after kind of burning me. I don't know if I'll get there, but it probably is a good move. We can just punt this whole range. Christopher Bell starting 1st, Truex starting 2nd, and Bubba Wallace starting 9th. Wallace, maybe, like, I mean, you have to win to really be worthwhile, right?
Yeah, especially at that 8,100 number, starting 9th. I know he's fantastic at super speedways. He won here last year in the fall. I love Bubba. Like I've talked about him on numerous occasions. I don't think he's quite to the level of those upper echelon drivers yet to be able to have the confidence in him to maintain a starting position inside the top 10 without also having to factor in the risk of crashing.
Yep. Especially with the names right behind him that are really compelling.
Yep.
Austin Cindric, obviously your Daytona winner, starting 18th at 7,900. Chastain starting 19th at 77. Ricky Spinouts, 26th, 7,600. A guy that I think can win this race.
Great value right there.
Huge, tremendous value. Almirola is a sneaky super speedway racer, starting 23rd, makes a lot of sense.
I think the guy right there, right below Almirola, Kurt Busch starting 6th, that's 7,400. He has the history of he's such an experienced driver that even if his car is not necessarily up to speed with the Hendrick vehicles, he has raced this race so many times. He may be the value of the race starting in that position. If he can maintain a top 10 finishing spot, you're going to get great value for your buck.
Yeah. And I think he's going to be somebody that people are going to kind of jump over.
Yep.
And maybe not get to. So I think that's an interesting call there. Obviously, Austin Dillon, pretty interesting, starting 14th. Daniel Suarez, like him, I think he's a fun driver. Not using him at 7K, starting 4th. Your guy Christopher Buescher, 30th, 6,900.
He'll find his way on plenty of my lineups.
That's kind of what I was thinking. Michael McDowell obviously won Daytona last year, starting 21st, has a really good run at super speedways. Nice run at Talladega. Makes some sense. Eric Jones, Harrison Burton, starting 25th. Don't hate that. Todd Gilliland, starting 32nd. 6,200. Can always find myself getting to him. And then right behind him, Ty Dillon, a guy that you were talking about when we talked on Wednesday. He's starting 20th, which is, I was hoping like there'd be a 7 or an 8 maybe next to that too. I think 6,100 starting 20th, I think you could find ways to get him in your lineups.
Yeah, and I think too that's actually a good like idea of where his car is capable of running in terms of just overall speed. And then once in the draft where he's been very good at Talladega in particular, that he does have the possibility to get inside that top 10. And at 6,100, even starting 20th, it's not the spot we wanted him to start at to get all those placement points, but I still think he offers the potential of somebody who cracks the top 10. And at 6,100, that is, almost a must roster for me.
Yeah. Very, very compelling target for sure. You could get fun and have some get wild down here. And pile
Corey
a couple of
LaJoy,
these
baby.
guys. Corey LaJoy makes sense. Who else could we look at? Maybe like pull up some top 20s. Man, this used to be my Ryan Newman spot, but I don't have my new Ryan Newman anymore. So, some compelling names for sure.
Yeah, I think the guys after LaJoy are like a complete avoid. I mean, like we said, qualifying doesn't necessarily tell you what the race is going to be like, but those guys below him, their cars just do not have the pace to keep up with the train. And so I think there's a good possibility the BJ McLeods, the Cody Wares, the Greg Biffles, the Castles, the Yaleys are going to be getting lapped during the race.
Yeah, that's probably fair. It's not fun getting to some of these guys, but sometimes there is a little bit, especially if you're trying to make it work. Like you could
Yeah.
find ways where if you just need them to not end up like 10 laps down and in 37th place when they could, move up a few spots, then you're not, then
True.
you're loving life. So it's just, it's just how comfortable you are and what other pieces you have in your lineup that will dictate how aggressive you want to get at the bottom of the DK pricing. With that being said, Brian, let's build a lineup. Let's have some fun. Let's work through some of these names as we kind of figured out. We had some fun last week, obviously, on the live stream. We were able to answer some questions. It did not go great, but I felt like we were in the right spot with some of the names. So let's build a lineup. Let's have some conversations about how we want to adjust from there. But I will let you have the tea, and you will tell me the first name going into our lineup this week.
Oh man, as much as I want to go with the top guy, it's always really difficult. I liked your idea about Chase Elliott. He's still the leader in driver points on the season. I mean, a win is bound to come for him and Ryan Blaney, but I do think that the 6 starting positions and the $600 in the savings makes him the play over Blaney to start the lineup.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Starting 28th, he still has a chance to win the race. I could see him finishing top 5. You're
Yep.
obviously loving life, a lot of fastest laps, a lot of that kind of stuff. Obviously a good starting point. I think we have to start diving though and keep going, and find some value. And man, there's this range right here is compelling. And then I know you don't love him, but Brad K starting 15th. I'm gonna put in spinouts 7,600, starting 26th. He could move up. He could make a serious dent in the leaderboard and end up being somebody that like Elliott finishes in that top 5 conversation, assuming he can keep all 4 wheels on the track.
Yeah, I like that call. Obviously, he's driving a combination of Kroger and Sunny Delight this weekend, so it's not exactly the car that I like to see on the track. But yeah, Stenhouse is always one of my favorites at super speedways. I think breaking off from him, I mean, like you said, we're gonna have to start diving into some salary savings here. I feel like going with Ross Chastain at 7,700 is a good move. I know he didn't look great during qualifying, but his teammate Daniel Suarez was a little bit faster than he was. So maybe they get together and they talk about the setup and everything. And Chastain has been just on a roll of late. And so starting 19th, 7,700, I think is kind of a good spot for him coming into this weekend.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Cole Custer. We didn't really mention him when we just ran through the names, but he's starting 29th. He's 5,600. At his last 4 runs at Talladega, starting in 2020, started 28th, finished 22nd. October started 18th, finished 31st. Not great, but then in 2021 started 27th, finished 10th, and started 28th and finished 13th. So his last 2 runs here have been amazing. Obviously, a little bit different car, but I think is a guy that could be good. Obviously, had a nice, obviously the qualifying a week ago wasn't. It wasn't. It was a little interesting, but he did find a way to start on the pole. He ran really well at Daytona, including in the middle of the race was at 7th. Did fall back a little bit for the end, but did finish 20th after starting 31st. So if we can have him start 29th, get us flirting with a top 20 finish at 5,600, I think we'll be very happy with his potential and the salary savings we're getting rostering him.
Yeah, no, Custer is somebody, especially starting where he is, as long as he avoids one of the early big ones, which always seems to collect multiple drivers in our lineups. I think he's in a good spot. For me, I can't avoid it. Christopher Buescher starting 30th, 6,900. He's got to be next in the lineup. I mean, you're looking at a guy who's finished 6th twice over the last 4 races here. His worst finish at Talladega in the last 5 trips is 22nd. He has the 11th best average finish over the last 10 trips to Talladega. He almost won at Daytona last year before being disqualified for some bogus rule about the pits or some crap. So, I mean, like he's the kind of guy that can bust brackets, or in terms of NASCAR, like bust betting cars, because he can win from the back of the field and be that lower odds guy who takes the cake.
Yeah. No, I think that makes a lot of sense.
And to point out, like in this kind of race, like there's some weird shit that happens. So I do not feel the need to try to like use all of our salary whatsoever here.
Right. And so that I mean, obviously we're in an interesting spot where we can pretty much do whatever we want.
Yep.
I think the safe route is throwing Ryan Blaney in there, calling it a day. We're still leaving 1,800 on the table. We're still doing some unique stuff with our middle drivers. Obviously, we're pounding the back half of the race. A lot of things that make sense. We can also get a lot more aggressive with it if we want to be really unique. I think Almirola starting 23rd makes some sense. You made a good pitch for Kurt Busch, who's starting 6th, but could dominate some laps. Obviously, there's not as many, so it's not quite as important. But you could put one guy in there if you want to get a little unique. At McDowell starting 21st, Eric Jones starting 16th.
One thing on Kurt Busch is that the last 3 trips to Talladega that he finished every single lap, he's finished inside the top 10.
Yeah.
I mean, so as long as he avoids crashing, he's going to finish in that region where he's starting.
Bowman starting 27th is incredibly interesting. As I mentioned, because I'm going to do it. I know it's going to feel gross, but I'm putting in Brad Keselowski.
We're doing the RFK bros?
Yeah, we're doing it. So yeah, I think some form of this lineup with a Blaney in here, with Keselowski in here, with Kurt Busch in here, maybe a tweak or two here, Todd Gilliland.
I do want to point out the
Corey
fact that
LaJoie.
we don't have a single Toyota in the lineup, and they were by far the fastest at qualifying.
Okay, so which Toyotas do you want to put in our lineup?
No. I'm just saying, like, I think it just goes to show you how little qualifying matters at super speedways.
Yeah. I mean, I worry about what they've done, and Toyotas like haven't really looked great outside of 1 or 2 races. So,
well, I feel like they've been the worst at adjusting, like post qualifying or adjusting in the race. Like they've been the worst car manufacturer in terms of like in race adjustments throughout the season.
Yep. So we'll roll with this. Like I said, I'll probably do some version of this for my lineups this week. I like a lot of the names we got to. It's easy to take Chastain out and put in Almirola. It's easy to take out Keselowski and go up to, pretty much anyone we want. There's, a ton of different potential guys. Even Austin Cindric at 7,900. Like we have some flexibility with this group. So I think this is kind of how I'm gonna roll. In the comments below, let us know what is the one driver that you will not be leaving out of your DraftKings lineups based on price, based on qualifying, based on your expectations for the race. Let us know down below.
And let us know why Brad Keselowski will not be in your lineups.
Exactly. You Brian nailed it. Why are you fading Brad Keselowski, and why is Kyle a moron? That is just the epitome of this show. It's perfect. We could have called ourselves Fake Keselowski, but
yeah,
that would have boxed us in. If you have not done so, please smash the like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so, and that will enter you to win this bad boy. There we go. A signed mini helmet by Mr. Christopher Bell. He is
Oh,
Brian's going to enter it as well.
yeah, exactly.
If we hit 500 subs before the NASCAR playoffs, I will be giving that away. If we don't hit 500 subs and we're getting into the NASCAR playoffs, then I'm probably going to kick that number up a little bit. If we get to 500 subs before the playoffs and we can get to 1,000 by the end of the playoffs, we will give something even cooler away. But that
Yes.
Christopher Bell mini helmet will be sent off to one lucky viewer of the show. So make sure you are liking the show, make sure you're subscribed, all that stuff. I will figure out the contest part once we hit 500. If we hit 500, it will be ending up in someone's mailbox. If it doesn't, it'll stay on my shelf and look really nice, and I will be really happy to have it. So
Let's just say there may be a lot of ghost accounts being added to the subscriber list.
hey, if the address ends up being in San Diego, California, I'll know why.
They're all going to be from the same IP address.
So that's our thoughts on DraftKings. Let's flip over. Let's talk the updated betting odds and look for some potential values. Before we do that, let's take a look at our outright card as we speak. All of these bets are from Wednesday, so we'll take a look. I put Kyle Larson on at 17-1. Really like that. William Byron 18-1. Christopher Bell 28-1. And Eric Jones at 70. I also have a Bell top 10, Eric Jones top 10, and a William Byron top 3 at plus 550. These are my bets from our show on Wednesday. It's really important you get here on Wednesday because you get the best numbers. And then after qualifying, those numbers move wildly. So if you want to be in early and be in often, that's the way to do it. As you can see, here's Brian's card over here. He has Blaney at 11, Byron at 18, Buescher at 28, Bell at 28, Eric Jones at 70, and Ty Dillon at 125. He also has
Sleeper
Eric Jones,
special.
Ty Dillon, and McDowell top 10s. Is Blaney over Logano and Buescher over Chastain. I forgot to put that on my card because that is our show bet for the week. Each week we have a little head-to-head action where we each pick a driver on a side of a matchup and go head-to-head. We should figure out, Brian, how we're doing on the season so far, so we can keep an eye on our show bets. I feel like it's pretty close, but
I'll go back and compile the list for
yeah,
next week's.
We'll get it done, and then we'll update everybody on Wednesday when we break down next week's race. So let's jump into the betting odds. And Ryan Blaney 10-1, 11-1, 12-1, somewhere in that range. Joey Logano right there, 12-1. Chase Elliott 15-16. Those are actually pretty decent numbers. Could have some fun there. Bubba Wallace 12-14, depending on where you look. Keselowski 15. He's drifted a little bit, and I think that when we were originally looking, it was like 12 or 13. I didn't feel as great. At 15, I think I feel much better about it.
Well, and then real quick before we even continue, like that just goes to show you that's interesting that they would move his odds down, knowing that he probably qualified better than what his car has shown this year, as opposed to Chase Elliott, who is now the second favorite, and he qualified. What is he, 28th? Like it just showing you qualifying means almost absolutely nothing.
I mean it's like a math equation, right? It's like, okay, how have they done before? How are they doing currently? And where are they starting? At super speedways, it's a lot easier to win from the back half of the field. From Bristol or Martinsville, it'll be a lot harder to move through the field on that short of a track and not end up on a lap or 2 or 3 down. So each track is going to have its own quirks, and the betting board is going to reflect that accordingly. So as I mentioned, Keselowski is interesting at 15 if you can get that. Hamlin, I'm good. Austin Cindric, if you can get 18 at DK, I think I'd get to that. I don't know. I don't love it at 13 or 14, but at 18, I could find myself going there. Keep moving. Kyle Busch, Chase Briscoe, Kyle Larson, 16, 17, all the way down to 20. That's pretty wild.
What's super interesting is like I don't think there's a single guy on the odds board, especially inside that 20-1 number, who does not have a legit shot to win this race. So I mean, whoever you're feeling coming into this week, I mean, make the bet, but then also remember, like, this is the best race, or this in Daytona, to pepper the board a little bit.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, we talked a little bit about, just skipping the whole upper echelon and
I
just
mean,
finding value down the board and just getting a few names instead of taking one or two. But I do think it is interesting that despite qualifying fifth, his number really hasn't moved. Kevin Harvick, William Byron still in that 16, 17, 18 range. Still feels pretty solid. Kurt Busch, 2025. Any interest going there?
I mean, that 25-1 number is not bad, especially, I mean, he qualified well, he showed the speed. It's just how the car is going to act in traffic, with dirty air and all that.
Yep.
So,
and Bubba's had some success at this course. Now they're so I don't know. It is interesting now that their teammates could some of the stuff they learned from last year from Bubba's ride, impact Kurt as well. A good driver who likes a track plus a car who's done well on a track, combine them together.
Yep.
Kind of like that idea. Christopher Bell still reasonably priced considering how well he qualified. We both have him on the card at 28, but you can still get 24, 25. I wouldn't bet the 16. I think that's too short. But anything north of 20, I feel pretty good about.
Yeah, I mean, it's the reason why we make the bets early in the week. Is like for me, I'm trying to find the guys where I feel the number is either going to stay or possibly get worse after qualifying, which is another case of Christopher Bell's number opening far too long.
Yep, I think that makes sense. Trying to find out how our boy Ross the Boss did. Daytona. Yeah, no, Daytona did not go well for him, but I think
he was caught up in the first crash, probably caused by Brad Keselowski, by the way.
If there's an accident, it's either Keselowski or
Stenhouse or Eric Jones. It's one of those three guys.
Stenhouse is spinning himself out, or Keselowski is spinning someone else out. Chastain at 35, I could find myself getting to. I like that number. 25, 35, yeah. Christopher Buescher, nice value there. Those are some interesting movement. What'd you get him at? Yeah, you get him at 28, 25. I guess if you get to 30, that's good. I don't know. Where would you bet him at 24, 25 or?
Probably not, knowing the other guys that are like, I mean, honestly, just historical finishes here. Buescher is probably better than Chastain. And I have Buescher over Chastain in our show bet, but I would much rather get Chastain at 25-1, knowing his form in 2022 is much better than Buescher.
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. That Ricky Stenhouse number at 32 is really appealing to me, but I think I'm gonna pass. It's really tempting.
I know I've been looking at a lot of these that I want to add to the card, but I feel like I'm already in the race for outright, so pretty heavy. So
you can definitely spray the board, but at some point you have to like take a few stands.
Exactly.
You can't bet everybody. Like your guy.
I mean, you can, but
I mean, like your guy in Vegas who just literally bets the whole board. Which, it's definitely a decision for sure.
I was going to say, Martin Truex at 32-1. Yeah, he's sucked at super speedways, but
just the fact that he's 18 or 20 elsewhere makes me think that it's worthwhile.
Yeah,
because you may not hit it, but getting almost double the odds makes it really tempting.
Yeah, and too, again, it's just a small unit play. It's not like you're doing 10 units on him to win the race.
Yeah, we're not dropping wiring over $100,000. Like,
Exactly.
throw
Yeah. No.
$20 on it, call it a day. Suarez at 50, I could get myself to. He was a lot shorter, like these numbers when we talked initially. So, yeah. Anybody else you want to look at before we look at some like placings and props and
So
stuff?
I think Eric Jones and Justin Haley right below him at
Yep.
that 65 and 70 to 1 numbers. Those are fantastic numbers for guys who have done really well at super speedways. Justin Haley, I think at Daytona to open the year, he was like around 30 or 35 to 1 to open, and he actually got lower than that after qualifying. And so
Yep.
Haley's the kind of guy that could pop off here. I mean, he qualified just outside the top 10, I believe. So I mean, he's a guy that could potentially pay off huge this week.
Yeah, and the name right below him, Ty Dillon, you got him at 125. You can still get 100 or 90, which is still great.
I mean, realistically, though, I don't see him winning the race. I mean, it's possible, but at the same time, I mean, he would need utter chaos.
Yeah, it's a super
which
speedway.
It's happened.
We're here for chaos.
Yeah.
Let's go back up to the top and we can look at some placings as Fast and the Furious goes by outside my window. We can look
I will say real quick, I am going to add one more outright and
give it to me.
It's somebody who's been really close to hitting, and that's going to be Tyler Reddick at 22 to 1. I think he's almost won so many times that, I mean, at 22 to 1, that's just a great number for a guy who's been as good as he has.
Yeah. Last week was so frustrating.
Yes.
Holding a Tyler Reddick here and a Chase Briscoe here, and they both crashed, and here comes Kyle Busch. I'm just like, are you fucking kidding me?
That's the remote through the TV.
Yeah, that was the TV through the window kind of day, but unfortunately I didn't win the bet, so I can't buy myself a new TV, so I didn't want to do that. Looking at the top 3 market, it's interesting that Bubba is like basically a co-favorite, but at the top 3 market, you can get him at 4 to 1. But like with Hamlin and Keselowski, I understand he's not as safe as some of these guys, but if you really like Bubba, that might be a better way to attack him.
It's just so hard. Yeah, I love Bubba, but I don't know that. I feel like the odds are becoming shorter because of the popularity of him, not necessarily what.
Well, and he won the race last year, so people like to go back to the winner from before.
Yeah.
But Byron's number's still at a really palatable price. I think it makes sense if you want to get to him. Interesting range here. I don't know. I don't know that I love any of these numbers. Anything jumping out to you as a screaming value or one you want to like potentially, like FanDuel giving us 11 to 1 on Stenhouse to top 3. I think that's a nice number.
Yeah, because Stenhouse is kind of that guy where he's either going to be in contention to win the race, or as we saw in Las Vegas when I had him on a bunch of bets, he's either going to win or he's going to finish outside the top 20. Realistically, it seems like. And so getting him on that number and where you parlay that with him to win the outright too, you could have a huge weekend.
Yeah, 7 to 1. I don't feel quite as comfortable, but getting double
11 to
digits,
1, that's good.
Yeah, Tyler Reddick, 6.5, 7 to 1 to top 3. I don't think is crazy, and right behind him, Christopher Bell. Obviously, don't touch DraftKings, but FanDuel at 8.5 to 1 to top 3.
That's a great number.
That's a nice number. Truex is hanging out there at 11. I'm wondering if, they're giving us some value this week for sure. 20 to 1 to top 3 for Eric Jones. Let's look at the top 10 market and see if we can.
I was just gonna say, I feel like I've gotten a little safer with my wagers in that like top 3 market. They're just so hard to hit. I'd almost much rather go for the outright at triple the odds.
Yep, but I think the thing I learned last week is that if you like a couple drivers a lot, you top 3 them as well, so that way if shenanigans happen at the end and they finish second and third instead of first, you cash some tickets, especially on the Stenhouse, Eric Jones, like bigger names. Like
Yeah.
obviously, some of the shorter odds, I'm fine passing, but if you have to, if you're taking big shots on guys that you think can win the race, supplementing with the top 3, I think, or top 5 is really nice way to go.
Yeah, true.
Let's look at that top 10 market. Obviously, some big numbers here. If you have access to Sugar House, they love the top 10 market and just giving out candy, plus money on Denny Hamlin and William Byron and Bubba to top 10. It's just they want NASCAR money apparently. Even Ryan Blaney minus 130. I could get behind that for sure. Parlay that with a hockey game or an MLB game or a home run or something, and have yourself a nice little day. Cindric, meh. Any of these numbers really compelling to you, or should we just?
I mean, I like the potential of Almirola at even money to top
Yeah.
10. Like I
Thanks,
feel like that's a
DraftKings.
good value.
Yep, and that it will go on the card. Almirola, top 10. If I get even money on a top 10 of a driver that I feel comfortable
Yeah.
with.
And that's what I'm
Yep.
talking about. Is like this isn't necessarily even this race is so unpredictable. You're almost betting based on value, not even what you think is going to happen. Like you just take the value bets and hope that they hit because like nothing else is of value at these tracks.
Yeah, and like at Daytona in this current car, Almirola started 38th. By the middle of the race, he was 11th. The last 10%, he was 18th, and then all of a sudden he's finishing 5th. So like the swings are aggressive. So don't get too high or too low, and don't feel
Exactly.
like you can't knock this out because there's gonna be opportunity. Ricky Spinouts plus 140 is
I
going
just
to
added him on the
Yeah.
top 10 at plus 140. Again, the potential of him to finish inside there, that's so much safer than going even at the much bigger number, 11-1 at a top 3. I feel like he could even wreck coming into the finish at the finish line and still finish inside the top 10.
Yeah. Positive number on a top 10 bet for a driver that I'm comfortable with. Yeah, I think it makes sense. Brian and I won't be really using these for the bets because we don't, Sugar House is not really a easily accessed book, so we're trying to stay with like DraftKings, FanDuel, and Caesars. But if you have access, there is plenty of value to be had.
I was just gonna say, for instance, look at that Tyler Reddick.
Yeah, I mean, and just all you need is to go to Action Network or Odds Checker or whatever, or compare it with DraftKings and go, oh, this book has it at this book has it at this. This has a value, even if it doesn't necessarily. You're not going to hit every bet, but if you find really good value where it's basically negative to positive, like it's worthwhile making that bet, especially if you feel comfortable with the driver. Like it just. Like Martin Truex plus 160. Like
yeah, those are
plus 140 on Martin Truex, the top 10. I know he doesn't do well here, but he's starting near the front. I don't know. Grasping at straws. Michael McDowell, the top 10 at plus 175. What did you get him at? Yeah, 175.
So I got it at the same number.
I think I'm going to join you on that. I think that's a nice number. Almost 2-1.
And when you look at DK too, he's barely over even money. I mean, and I feel like DraftKings is a little bit sharper when it comes to the NASCAR bets in some aspects. So
yeah, both books will hang weird numbers out there that you can take advantage of. And other ones, I think it just depends on like what money's coming into the market, which bets they're taking heavy juice on. Like for example, Eric Jones, the top 10 plus 280. Yeah, I mean that's what you got him at too. I think that number makes a lot of sense. Getting almost 3-1 instead of 2-1, I think is a great way to look. Daniel Suarez, he's 150 here, he's 280 here. Like there's a significant gap. Cole Custer, top 10 plus 280 going on the card.
The guy right below him, Justin Haley, plus 320 to top 10, already added to my card. That is an absolutely absurd number for somebody who is as highly regarded as he is at super speedways.
Yeah, 150, not touching it. 320, I will take
That's
that.
ridiculous.
Yeah, if I hit
Yes,
2 or 3 of these, I'm counting the paper all the
I
way.
was just gonna say I'm probably gonna have 10 top 10 bets by the end of or right before the race gets going. So hopefully I can hit at least 2 of them.
Speaking
And then
of,
right there, good point. Ty Dillon opened the week. I got him at plus 360 to top 10. He's all the way down to plus 250, even plus 265 at Sugar House. So I mean, that's a great value for me. Yay to me for jumping on a great line early in the week.
yeah, it's pretty wild that Sugar House just doesn't care up here.
Yeah,
But like
exactly.
when they get down to Ty Dillon, they're like,
Yeah,
265. That's the best
they
we
want to
can do.
mitigate their risk with those guys.
Yeah. Yeah, that feels really solid. See if there's any matchup movement or anything that we need to look at here. Obviously, the matchups are going to be pretty random, where some of sites will have all of them, some sites will have their own combinations at different prices. I'm going to go with Keselowski over Harvick. I like Brad this week, even though like I don't know, it just feels weird because like he just has so much success on Talladega. He is running decently, and just feels like a driver that I want to jump on board with. Whenever I see these numbers that feel out of place or too short for my own, for like where I mentally think they are, it tells me something, and it makes me want to get a piece of that. So great way to get a piece of it, not be too stressed, not worry about 10th or 11th or 15th. Just beat Kevin Harvick. And at super speedways, some of these cars get knocked out in the first quarter of the race, and you're just counting your change before the race even ends.
Yeah, and then I scrolled a little bit further down. One of my favorite ones, I actually talked about it over on my piece for BetSperts. Tyler Reddick over Chase Briscoe. Yes, Chase Briscoe is like one of the favorites for the race still. He's been pretty good of late, but Tyler Reddick he's so close to winning a race. Starting 9th, I think he's got a good shot to win the race. I'm going to go minus 105 at BetMGM.
Okay. This is a good one. I think if you want to just play the percentages, Michael McDowell will probably finish the race. Ricky Stenhouse could win the race, could be out within the first 10 laps.
Yep.
So you're getting even money. You can mitigate some risk. I'm going to take McDowell over Stenhouse.
That's a very true statement. I mean, like Stenhouse has the high chance of crashing, whereas Michael McDowell tends to kind of finish these races. So
yep, and I have I like Stenhouse's potential, but I have a McDowell top 10. I think he could run really solid, and I just need him to beat Stenhouse. I think that's the number that makes sense. Chris Buescher over Kurt Busch. Although Kurt Busch is interesting in this spot, it might be the move. I think this makes no sense, and obviously they're different books, it doesn't matter. But Kurt Busch, Chris Buescher,
yep,
basically
and then
even
Kurt
money,
Busch versus Christopher Bell,
and then Christopher Bell versus Kurt Busch. So I don't know.
I mean, maybe that's a good idea. Like you should be going Kurt Busch over Buescher, just because that's kind of where those skill levels would fall.
Yeah, I think if DraftKings is saying Kurt Busch and Christopher Bell are starting relatively similar, are obviously Kurt Busch is farther back, but Kurt Busch also has a lot more experience, so we're comfortable laying an even money wager there. And you can find someone like Kurt Busch against a lesser driver like Chris Buescher at this basically minus 115. Very, very compelling. Okay, that's how a good way to shop the props. Bowman over Bell, like I don't understand this, but it's play Sugar House, so I don't want to touch that. Justin Haley, Daniel Suarez, that's kind of compelling. Both guys are really interesting on their own, but I don't know if I want to go head to head with either of them. Is this the one you're talking about? Tyler Reddick versus Chase Briscoe?
Yeah, I'm gonna take
Tyler Reddick gonna spin out Briscoe this week.
What's that?
I said, is Tyler Reddick going to spin out Chase Briscoe this week?
I don't know. Briscoe was pretty nice about it afterwards. He apologized and everything. And
Yeah,
Reddick seemed
he's like, I don't know. He might hit me in the face or he might shake my hand, but we'll see. I'm taking Cole Custer over Harrison Burton. Like that's
kind of an absurd line there.
I don't know what we're doing here. So Cole Custer will probably crash within the first 5 laps, and all my bets will be null and void. But that's okay. Cindric versus Bubba Wallace, Briscoe versus Cindric. Yeah, I don't know. I feel pretty good about the head-to-heads that are on the card. I feel pretty good about where my card is at. Let's flip back and take a look, Brian, as we discuss the rest of our card, update everybody on where we're at, and we'll figure it all out. So I've got Kyle Larson at 17-1, William Byron is at 18-1, Christopher Bell 28-1, and Eric Jones at 70-1. I also have Bell at top 10 at even money. Eric Jones to top 10 at plus 280. William Byron to top 3 at plus 550. We have the show bet between Chris Buescher and Ross Chastain. I have Almirola the top 10, Stenhouse the top 10, McDowell the top 10, Cole Custer the top 10, and Justin Haley the top 10. I also have Keselowski over Harvick, McDowell over Stenhouse, and Custer over Burton. That is where my card is at. Brian has Blaney at 11, Byron at 18, Buescher at 28, Bell at 28, Eric Jones at 70, Ty Dillon at 125. He added Tyler Reddick 22. He also has Haley at top 10, Stenhouse top 10, Eric Jones top 10, Ty Dillon top 10, and Michael McDowell top 10. If we get like 8 of our 10 drivers into the top 10, how nice would that be?
That would be awesome.
And then he's got Blaney over Logano, our show bet. He's on Chris Buescher. And then Tyler Reddick versus Chase Briscoe as your head-to-head. What was our best bets from Wednesday, Brian? Do you remember?
So we didn't reveal our best bets from Wednesday, but my best feel going into the race was Ty Dillon. I've been talking about him all week. I'll even add an extra unit play on his current line to top 10 at plus 250 at FanDuel. It's just, I feel like he's the kind of guy that coming into this race is going to surprise some people. So he's my best bet from Wednesday. And then I'm also adding my best bet today after watching qualifying and all that stuff is going to be Eric Jones, top 10, plus 280. The number 43 car is going to bust some brackets, bust some DK lineups, and he's going to win me some money this week, baby.
I like it. I think it makes a lot of sense, and definitely makes a lot of sense. I think my best bet from Wednesday probably Christopher Bell top 10, but I don't remember where my head was at because I added all this, so I don't want to count that. And I really love Kyle Larson at 17, but it's hard to do an outright at the best bet and outright. So I really like Christopher Bell to top 10. I'm gonna roll with that as one of my best bets. My second best bet, I'm gonna go with Big Bad Brad over Kevin Harvick, minus 110. I will bump that up to 3 units, just to get some feels. And see how that goes. But yeah, I'm really happy with my card. I feel like it's a lot more measured this week. I want to spray the board, and I definitely took some shots with some outrights, but also found some values and whatnot throughout the race.
Before we get out of here, I am going to add Christopher Bell top 10, even money. I mean, the fact that you could still get it at that number after he qualified first is ridiculous. So
and he's going to finish like 6th or something. So I don't really love the top 5 or the top 3, but top 10 I feels pretty good, and happy to have that. I hope you're right about Eric Jones. I would love that plus 280. I really like the William Byron. I think that was my other one, but I don't remember. So That's Brian Twining. I'm Kyle Robert. Enjoy Talladega. Let's have some carnage. Let's have some fun. Let's win some bets. Let's win some money over on DraftKings. As I mentioned, smash the like, hit the subscribe, get entered into win that Christopher Bell signed helmet. And if, with that being said, we'll
Let
talk
us know your best bet for this race too.
Drop your best bets below. Good luck with all your stuff. And we'll be back Wednesday to recap everything in your feed Thursday morning. We'll talk to you next time.